Good morning. And welcome to worship here in the Old Kirk. And a warm welcome to those watching online and to those listening to the Dial a Sermon service. A few people I'd like to introduce. You will notice I have somebody sitting to my left this morning. I need to get this right or I'm going to be sacked. I'm delighted to welcome the Right Reverend Sally Foster Fulton, who is Moderator of the General Assembly of the Church of Scotland. For the rest of the service, it's Sally. Because I'll forget and get it wrong. Sally is married to Stuart, who's sitting over here, who was probationer assistant here in the Old Kirk. I'm not going to mention the year either, Stuart, other than I was in Girvan with Fraser Aiken at the time. So it was a few years ago. And this was the first church that Sally worshipped in Scotland when she came over from America, just a few years ago. So we're delighted that she's come this morning. This is her first official visit as the moderator. So we are really honoured and pleased to have you here, and we'll look forward to your message to us this morning. Also delighted to welcome Alan and Elizabeth Garrity. Lovely to have you back with us this morning. It's been too long since we've had you, and hopefully it won't be the last time that you'll come and see us. And we also have the Deputy Provost, Mary Kilpatrick, here with us this morning. Mary has decided she's here so often she's moving her lines from Alloway. So, Kate, speak to her after the service. So, a warm welcome to our service this morning. Just a couple of intimations. We're reinstating our car treasure hunt and barbecue, and it's going to be held on Sunday, the 2nd of July at 2 p.m, starting at the manse. Where it finishes is your decision. But if you do get back to the manse, we're having a barbecue there. If you'd like to come along to that, please put your name on the hastily made up notice in the back of the church. If you would like to go but don't have transport, let me know and we can pair you up with somebody who's got a car or a bike. David Leckie's got a tandem, so I know he's got one space available. But please, come up, put your name down for that. It'll be a good afternoon and a lot of fun. Also, just a request, between now and August, we're going to stop asking for toiletries for the Ukrainians. They're not using the hall over the summer, so we don't have the opportunity to hand the stuff out. So we'll give you a wee notice in August to start that again. But a huge thank you to everyone who has contributed to that. It has made a big difference to them. They are really appreciative of all that you have done, so thank you for that. And finally, just to say, there will be teas and coffees in the hall after the service, and you will have an opportunity to speak to Sally afterwards while we're down in the hall. I'm now going to ask her if she would light our Ukrainian candle, and we're going to sit quietly for a moment as we remember the people in Ukraine. Thank you. Let's worship God as we sing for God's glory.
Sing
Let us pray. Loving God, on this day of thanksgiving and celebration, we praise you for who and what you are. We marvel at your great goodness, the love and care, mercy and forgiveness you have so faithfully shown to us, the strength, support, guidance and inspiration you have so freely given. Loving God, for all the ways you are with us, we praise you. Gracious God, on this day of memories, as we recall the past, we praise you for all that you have done for us, the lessons we have learned, the blessings we have received, the friends we have loved, the goals we have reached, the faith that has grown. Living God, on this day of looking forward, anticipating the future, we praise you for everything you shall yet do among us, all that life continues to offer, all we have still to attempt and experience, all who in time will become part of our fellowship, all that will test and challenge us, all which will bring us joy and fulfillment in the years ahead. Living God, for all you still hold in store, we praise you. Father God, forgive us for all those times when your word has failed to take root. Forgive us the shallowness of our faith and our unwillingness to dig deeper. Forgive our failure to prepare ourselves for worship, our carelessness in making time for you, our laziness in discipleship, our preoccupation with all that distracts us from our true calling. Loving God, forgive us that our lives have been barren when they should have borne lasting fruit. Sow afresh your word in our hearts and nurture it within us, so that we may grow in grace and yield a rich harvest of your Spirit through Jesus Christ our Lord. And in his words we continue to pray, saying, Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and debts as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory forever. Amen. Now I'd like to invite Helen to read our lessons.
Today's first reading is from Psalm 50, verses 7 to 15, and can be found on page 572 of the Pew Bible. Hear the word of God. Listen, my people, and I will speak. I will testify against you, Israel. I am your God. I bring no charges against you concerning your sacrifices, or concerning your burnt offerings, which are ever before me. I have no need of a bull for your stall, or of goats from your pens, for every animal of the forest is mine, and the cattle on 1,000 hills. I know every bird in the mountains, and the insects in the fields are mine. If I were hungry, I would not tell you, for the world is mine, and all that is in it. Do I eat the flesh of bulls or drink the blood of goats? Sacrifice thank offerings to God. Fulfill your vows to the Most High, and call on me in the day of trouble. I will deliver you, and you will honour me. Amen.
We sing again in the hymn, Christ the world in which we move.
The second reading is from Matthew chapter 9, verses 9 to 13 and 18 to 26, and can be found in page 973 of the Pew Bible. Reading from verse 9. As Jesus went on from there, he saw a man named Matthew sitting at the tax collector's booth. "Follow me," he told him, and Matthew got up and followed him. While Jesus was having dinner at Matthew's house, many tax collectors and sinners came and ate with him and his disciples. When the Pharisees saw this, they asked his disciples, "Why does your teacher eat with tax collectors and sinners?" On hearing this, Jesus said, "It is not the healthy who need a doctor, but the sick. But go and learn what this means. I desire mercy, not sacrifice. For I have not come to call the righteous, but sinners." Reading from verse 18. While he was saying this, a synagogue leader came and knelt before him and said, "My daughter has just died, but come and put your hand on her, and she will live." Jesus got up and went with him, and so did his disciples. Just then, a woman who had been subject to bleeding for 12 years came up behind him and touched the edge of his cloak. She said to herself, "If I only touch his cloak, I will be healed." Jesus turned and saw her. "Take heart, daughter," he said, "your faith has healed you." And the woman was healed at that very moment. When Jesus entered the synagogue leader's house and saw the noisy crowd and people playing pipes, he said, "Go away. The girl is not dead, but asleep." But they laughed at him. After the crowd had been put outside, he went in and took the girl by the hand, and she got up. News of this spread through all of that region. Amen. And may God bless these readings from his holy word, and to him be all glory and praise.
Thank you, Helen. We sing again, "Love is the touch of intangible joy."
Before I start, can I just turn my microphone on? Before I start, can I just say what an absolute joy it is to be here. This was indeed the first place I worshiped. This was the first place I was welcomed. And I did get an incredible sense of home when I came back. So thank you very much for inviting me. It's an absolute joy. Sacred stories are like a treasure chest in a cave. You dig deep, then you come out into the light with an insight and you say, look at this. Then you get to go back in again and again, and there's always something new to discover. Such is a sacred story. And the story we just heard from Matthew is one of those stories. Let us pray. Throw open every window and every door by which your word might reach us. Open our hearts and our minds and our spirits to whatever you might have to say to us today. Amen. Go and learn what this means. I desire mercy, not sacrifice. Jesus has just broken all the rules again. He's called a tax collector, someone whose job it is to compromise with the occupying Roman powers, who makes his money from overcharging his own people and skimming off the top when they're already on their knees. Or at least that's the brush he's been tarred with. And because he's a serious persona non grata, or pariah in the eyes of all reasonable people in the community, his choice of friends is, well, let's say, limited. So when he holds a dinner party, you don't hold your breath waiting for an invite. Yet Jesus and his disciples, his learners, well, they're sitting in the center of this seedy gathering, being welcomed by his newest student. And the religious elite are horrified by this blatant disregard for the social norms that keep things normal. And we may miss the nuance of Jesus' response when he says, I desire mercy, not sacrifice. Go and learn what this means. He's actually quoting the prophet Hosea, who in his day challenged the religious elite who stuck firmly to ritual and tradition, but somehow forgot about love. Go and learn what this means, Jesus says. And then the rest of the story we hear is him teaching us what love looks like in real life. There are 3 healing stories housed in this one story, and they all have something in common. But before we go any deeper, I want to share a wider lens to explore them through. Native American storytellers often start their stories with this introduction. You know, I don't know if it happened exactly this way, but I know that this story is true. I don't know if it happened exactly this way, but I know that this story is true. So what is this story trying to tell us about what God looks like, feels like, acts like? What is this story trying to tell us that might just bring a change in our perspective, in our approach to each other? So the healing stories. The first healing. Well, that's not the woman with the flow of blood. And it's not the synagogue leader's daughter. In fact, it slips in so subtly that we could have missed it. The first healing is Matthew and his dinner guests being brought right back into community. It is in that simple act of radical hospitality. When Jesus chooses mercy and relationship over ritual. When he challenges the religious community to reconsider their priorities, to recalibrate, to remember who they are. They are God's. G-O-D apostrophe S. The theme for the General Assembly was remember who you are. The Church of Scotland and the church in Scotland are going through an extraordinary, difficult but necessary evolution. And even though we hold to Ecclesia Semper Reformanda Est, reformed and always reforming, it does not make it not painful. But if we are to continue the vital work to ensure we are fit for purpose, well, we need to be clear what our purpose is and remember who we are. Remember who we are. We are part of the body of Christ. Eyes that see the world as good, who see other human beings as stand-ins for God, who see a beautiful world, yes, with broken bits, but a beautiful world. One that needs all the love and energy we can muster. The body of Christ. Hands that aren't afraid to get dirty or reach out and work for a better world we will probably never live to see. The body of Christ. Feet that are going to walk the extra mile and the one after that and the one after that. Ones that slow down and wait because we're in it for the long haul. And feet that dance too because there is so much to be joyful about. The body of Christ. Here to hold up a sister who's struggling or sit with a brother who's afraid. With a heart hot with compassion and a voice that cannot be silent when people are shoved or subtly nudged into the margins, cornered there by greed, dressed up as just the way things are. The body of Christ. Radical welcome and unconditional love. My days, that is not for the faint-hearted. The second and third healing stories share an if only that Jesus explodes. If only I can touch the fringe of his garment. If only you lay your hand on her. I don't think we realize. But both of these acts require Jesus to compromise ritual purity and social norms. Actually, it required him to smash them. The woman with the flow of blood is being audaciously, desperately bold. She was considered unclean by that community and was shunned. She was not allowed to get anywhere near other people, not allowed to be touched or touch for 12 years. So she hides in that crowd, and she hopes that one touch might help her. She has nothing and everything to lose. But in the story, Jesus stops, addresses her, assures her, welcomes her back into this community. That touch, by the standards people put on it, made Jesus himself unclean, unacceptable. But he turned that on its head and said, "Well done," not "how dare you." I desire mercy, not sacrifice. Go and learn what that means. That's what it means. You know, there are 3 all-encompassing narratives in our faith history or sacred story, and they weave their way through the biblical text. Exile and return, sin and forgiveness, slavery and freedom. Now, the Christian faith, I'm afraid, has focused on sin and forgiveness almost exclusively, and I think sometimes to our detriment. I'm not saying sin and forgiveness is unimportant, far from it. But all 3 of these insights into the human condition intertwine and connect and merge and cannot be teased completely apart. But you know, in the hierarchy of human need, if you find yourself in exile, isolated and alone, unable to reconnect, then you do not need forgiveness first and foremost. You need to return. And if you find yourself captured, weighed down, bound up, enslaved, then you need freedom. In this act of defiance, we see those 2 beautiful narratives come to life. The woman returns no longer in exile. And if they can embrace it, what they've seen and experienced, those enslaved by their self-made rules are free to rethink, to recalibrate, to learn what mercy looks like when it's walking around. So the story asks us, what enslaves you? Takes up too much space, time, takes you away from other people? Are there things that narrow your mind, harden your heart, clench your fists? So the story asks us, what do you need to be freed from? How do you respond in this consumer, cosmetic-driven world that tries to tell you what you should look like, what success looks like, what you should wear, eat, drink, do, think? Jesus finally makes it to the synagogue leader's house. And the story tells us his daughter is already dead. And Jesus makes an intentional choice to touch her. Again, he will be ritually unclean. Because there are rules about touching a dead body. So, Jesus has just broken all the rules again. Thanks be to God. Amen. The offering for the work of the church will now be taken.
given us so many gifts, so many times over, and yet your bounty never comes to an end. Your love for us is beyond measure. And so as a token of our love and appreciation for all that you have done and all that you will do, we bring this, our offering, before you, asking that you would accept it, bless it, and use it, that your kingdom might grow. This we ask in Jesus' name. Amen. Now I'd like to invite Gay to lead us in our prayer for other people.
Morning. Now, there's only 2 bits of paper. That's good. Let us pray. Lord, we receive your love and let go of our thoughts of being alone and not good enough. We receive your joy, and we stop lingering on what might have, or could have, or would have been in our lives. We receive your peace and know that you have a plan already laid out for us. We receive your patience and know that all things will be given to us in your own timing. We receive your kindness and cherish every meeting with gentleness, true concern, and interest. We receive your goodness and focus on Jesus' nature. We receive your faithfulness and know that you have faith in us also. We receive your gentleness and think before we act, stay silent till we speak. We receive your self-control and know that sometimes this just ain't going to happen for us this time. There are so many scenarios we could offer in prayer to you today from the old kirk. Each prayer heartfelt, each scenario watered down from major injustices and conflict in the world to why the town of Ayr is struggling. Many, many requests for a levelling up throughout the world. Leaders with self-interest at their hearts, not willing to bend like the palm trees, if only they knew that they would not break but grow stronger. Self-identification or knowing who and what you are in this world, Lord, being eroded away in some parts. Yes, know that you are God's children. You are loved, precious, and individual, and in Christ you are unstoppable. We could do with a worldly leader, Lord. If you know of anyone, we pray you to send him or her soon. Amen.
Just before we sing our closing hymn, can I remind you first of all that we've got tea and coffee in the hall afterwards, and also to thank the moderator for our challenging and inspiring words this morning, and I'd like to invite Kate, our session clerk, to make a small presentation.
Moderator, Sally, thank you so much for coming and leading worship here today, and thank you for making the Old Kirk the first visit as moderator. We are truly honoured about that. As a token of our appreciation and on behalf of the congregation, please accept this voucher here. Now, a predecessor of yours, Dr. Weatherhead, chose shoes, so that in his words, he could walk on air. Please know you're in our thoughts and prayers, and God's blessing throughout your year. And we look forward to hearing all the things you've been up to. Okay.
Thank you, Kate. We close by singing Lord for the Years.
The worship is over. Let the service begin. Beloved of God, go in peace. And may the God who loves you, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, go with you this day and forevermore.
God bless and keep safe. We are going to take a photograph, so if all the elders can wait for a second, please. Sally and I will go to the door. If all the elders can wait for a second, we're going to take a picture at the front.